It's me again. All right, so yesterday I did this project. It was like part 5 of my craft with me repurposing cereal boxes videos. Um, and I was using some pressed flowers and doing some little like specimen slides. Take a look at that video. I love the way they turned out actually. It was like the one right before this. So, um, I decided I need more pressed flowers, and I also need to stop losing them in books that I've pressed them in when I ran out of space in my flower press. So I thought, okay, what do I have a lot of? And that is books and cardboard. And so I thought, well, there has to be a way to make my own flower press with a book. And I think I've come up with a pretty good little system. I have not tested it, but in theory it's going to work because I actually have this, which is a flower press, or was a parts of a flower press. You can see the holes drilled in it. And so you take, like nuts or bolts, real thin bolts with a fly, what do they call that thing? A wing nut, and tighten it down, right? And then you can put like multiple layers of cardboard with flowers layered in there and then just crank it down. Well, I always thought that was kind of a hassle to have to tighten all those wing nuts. Plus, it's not really very like convenient when you have all those bolts sticking out. So what I did with this was, this is not the cardboard that was in there, but with 3 layers of cardboard, and then I can do 2 layers of pressed flowers in here. And then take this board. This is just a piece of, real thin, like, plywood. And I have these giant bulldog clips that fit just over the 3 layers of cardboard and these 2 boards. Okay, so this is really almost the thickness of a book board, like of a heavier book board, So I thought, okay, this is great, but I need more of these, and I don't want to buy flower presses. So I thought I'm going to make some out of my books. Anyway, so what I did was I went through my stash of some of my stash of books, and I found some where the spines were about the width of this clip. Okay. And also some of these clips, like the smaller ones, because I thought it would be really cool if I could, take this with me to the park or on a walk or whatever, and collect leaves and bits of different grasses and, flowers and whatnot. And I'd have a few layers at least where I could start them pressing right away, because it's really hard to get flowers back home after you collect them in the field. Not that I'm out in the field all that much. I'm just saying, if I was, it would be nice to have a little pocket-sized flower press. So I just took this little book that I thought was kind of cute. It's this little German nature book. And I took the book block out, and then I basically just added 3 pieces of cardboard as pages in here. And then, so that way, and I think this is nice too, because I don't have to deal with the cardboard flying around. Like it's attached, so it's not going to fall out when it's like windy or whatever. And yeah, so I think this is going to work pretty well. Now, this isn't wood, so it's not as hard, right? It does have a little bit of flex, so I wouldn't expect that I could put real thick flowers in here, but mostly, so I know what I can press in here. You know what I mean? Like grasses and leaves and things like that. Smaller things like pansies and, daisies or whatever. And then I just take these clips and basically, just to get it home, really you only need a couple clips on it. The spine is still intact. Well, I put a piece of masking tape on there, but, just to be sure that there's pressure. You want even pressure around the whole, the border, basically, it would be nice to add one on the spine. Yeah, I do have one more. So to just put one on the spine, just to be sure that the pressure is somewhat even across the whole surface inside, and then that can just go right into your backpack or whatever, I think another nice thing to do would be to maybe add, string these together maybe so that they don't get lost. Like they could all technically be connected somehow. I don't know. That might be a bad idea, but, and then to maybe add a little eyelet in the corner of the book with like a little, little piece of chain or some string or something so that, that could clip onto your backpack. Yeah. So anyway, so did this little guy, and I've done this video. This is the second time now. And the first time I forgot to mention that I do put the clips all the way around. Okay. So that's important. And I did want to make sure that you saw that. Whoa. Check thrift stores when you go, when the thrift stores open back up. Check the office supply section at your favorite thrift store, and because that's where I find these all the time. And I swear I have this giant box full of these somewhere, and I have some even bigger ones. But if you can't find them at a thrift store, they sell these like at Office Depot for pretty cheap. Like they're not that expensive. And I think, usually there's about 30 of them in a bag for less than $10. Anyway, and then take some book covers. What I did on this one is I gutted it out, but I kept the end pages attached. Okay. So if I was really desperate, I could actually put a layer of flowers here. And then I've got, so that could technically be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers of flowers. So like I could just add one layer, go along with my life, maybe add a little, just like a little piece of tape here with the date or something, or maybe identify what the flowers are or something like that, but something removable so that you don't, you're not writing on that. And then, you can just add to it as you go, and then these bigger bulldog clips actually fit really nicely on, a decent size hardcover book. So, and like I said, I haven't tested this out, like to see how they're going to press or anything like that, but I kind of think it's going to work just fine. One thing I will say, since the size of this cover isn't really like the other flower press, it has the 2 pieces of wood, right? So if I only have 1 layer of flowers in there, I only put 2 pieces of cardboard, right? And then with the screw kind, you would be able to tighten that down however much you want. Well, you can't really do that with the book because the spine, right? So what I think would work to kind of compensate for that would be to just keep your cardboard in there all the time. And then if you need more pressure inside the book, like say you only have 1 layer of flowers in here, put them in the center maybe. And then you could just add pieces of paper folded in half, like just to kind of increase the pressure across that layer, like say if you only have one layer of flowers. And then as you add more layers of flowers on different pages, you can take those papers out, you know. And then also you probably would want to use pretty thin paper to layer your flowers. I always use parchment paper, just because it's like non-stick and it's, you know, I think better than using wax paper. I've had flowers actually stick to wax paper before. So I use this parchment paper, and it's super thin. So I think I could have 8 pieces of that in this book, plus the flowers, and still be able to clip it just fine. You know, you may wind up with it bulging slightly, but you know, I think you just have to play around with it and take it as it comes. But that's nice too, that you can fold these clips down and then you can actually press your flowers with your book on a shelf vertically. You know, you could maybe even add a label here, to, you know, identify like the date or something. It doesn't take that long to press flowers. It doesn't take a year. Like it seems like it might. A couple weeks usually. And this is just a theory. This is my own personal theory. I don't know if this is absolutely true or not, but I know that they do use formaldehyde when they process paper. And so I think that the formaldehyde in the paper actually helps to preserve the flowers. And like I said, that's just my thinking. I used to live near a paper processing plant when I was a kid, and you could smell the formaldehyde all the time. Anyway, it smells like sulfur. So there's that one. I mean, and I love the cover on this one, so I don't really have to do anything else to it. But, you know, like say if you got your book and you don't have your end papers anymore, like say they rip out or they're just not very sturdy, like this one, that's okay. Like you can still build this as a flower press. So I would just take, well, I'll just go ahead and do this one. Just take a piece of masking tape and put it along one side. And I think it's nice to be able to change these out too if you want to. So masking tape is great for that because it actually lifts pretty easily. So tape that page in, turn the page, and then let's do the back one. So these types of things like stickers and whatnot, like I wouldn't necessarily want to press flowers along these labels, you know, because I might wind up with lines in them. So if you're concerned about that, then definitely peel those off, you know. And I don't know for sure that they would make a huge difference, but I think you would probably be able to see that with like thinner flowers. So anyway, I do want to try to line these up with each other. So I'm gonna actually hold on. I just want them to sort of be lined up. So these are not all exactly the same size, but they are for the most part. Okay, so I just want that to be level with the back cover of the book. Okay. And you could burnish that down and make that really, really tight if you want to. And then I'm going to tape these two pieces together. Just right down the center. You can tell that my cut line is not perfect either. So, but it's okay. Like, just think about how much cardboard you're going to be repurposing and all those book covers that now have another purpose, you know? I'm going to make so many flower presses. I'll have dried flower, pressed flower is coming out my ears. Okay. And then you just have to kind of finagle it and get that so that it's lined up with that page. Flip the page and then add another piece of masking tape. And you could use washi tape for sure. Washi tape is a little thinner. But I think actually having a little bit of bulk here helps to keep the press a little tighter along the spine if you don't have the clamps on there. You know what I mean? Because there's a little bit of extra bulk along here. It adds a little bit of extra pressure along the spine. So yeah, so there we go. It's another little flower press, right? Yeah. And I mean, you could make this super fancy, right? Like you could add decorative paper on there or whatever. But then I would store, you know, maybe trim these down a little bit and then just store a page in each, you know, in between each page. Just store one of those piece of parchment folded in half in each page, you know. And you could probably press flowers using this as one of your, you know, layers. It's nice to use cardboard also because it has a little bit of cushion, like, but it's still really stable, real sturdy. And say you are putting flowers in here that are sort of bulky, like you wouldn't want to use chipboard because the pressure from the flower on one side could potentially warp the other side of the board if you use chipboard. And also the moisture can come through. There's a lot of water in flowers. And so the corrugated cardboard is nice because that little bit of moisture can absorb into this side. Well, if you're using parchment paper, it really won't anyway, but it'll absorb into one side of the cardboard. And then if it does, I mean, and then that layer that's in the middle, that the corrugated part will help to dry that out. So that's another reason why cardboard is a good option. So yeah, so there's that one. And then I showed you the little tiny one. So I think I'm going to do this one too. And this one, I was able to save the end pages. So I can just glue my first piece of cardboard right on there. And then the rest of this book is already gutted. I need to, I need to cut my cardboard, you know. So I don't know. I just thought this would be fun, and I think it's going to be really effective. So yeah, I'm just going to have tons of pressed flowers now, and I won't lose them because I'll know that they're in my flower pressing books, you know, and those will look kind of cool on a shelf, and I'll know that those are my flower presses. So anyway, I hope I didn't forget to tell you guys anything I really wanted to say, but yeah, just, you know, when you're looking for books to use for this, just use the clip as a gauge of the spine. So you want to find one where the spine is about the same size as that clip, you know. Of course, you could use other book covers. You just would want to make sure that you have enough clips to go all the way around, and just use two book, you know, the front and back covers of a book. And you could even rebuild the spine just to make it still look like a book, you know. But anyway, that's just my little idea. So I hope you guys make some. That would be really cool. And let me know if you do and what you think. Okay. And if you have any questions, in case I forgot anything like super important, just leave it in the comments and I'll try to answer you. Okay. All right. Love you guys. Bye for now.